Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to be talking about sieges because we know that Creative Assembly are looking towards doing a siege update later this year. This was confirmed in the last blog about the current campaign AI beta, and I've got some expectations regarding a siege rework. You see, we've had siege changes come in the last time, or the last major updates, better yet said, was in November 2023. It fixed some issues, but it really didn't fix everything. And given that the patches are significantly larger now, I'm expecting that this might be the last time that Creative Assembly do a rework for sieges. It's the same thing like what happened with the dwarfs in Thrones of Decay. So let's talk about some things that need improving. These are stuff that I've been suggesting over a decent amount of time, but seeing as Creative Assembly are taking notes now, you know, it's always good to get those suggestions out there. It's important that we start talking about what problems there are in sieges as a community. First thing, butt ladders. So ladders are a massive issue when it comes to Total War Warhammer because, one, your infantry troops don't actually carry ladders around, meaning that you and the AI can scale the walls in multiple locations, making defense or offense kind of awkward in some cases. But not only that, seeing as they're not a proper siege unit or siege item, what happens is that the AI kind of gets confused about this. Even when you're sending units to attack through a gate that might have been open, sometimes your infantry troopers might just go onto the wall, meaning that they'll climb up and they'll end up being tired and start getting slaughtered. Some people have been calling for ladders to be outright removed, and I imagine that really wouldn't fix anything. If anything, it's just going to make sieges a lot more awkward as the AI will start to funnel through just the entrances, so there's no point for you to have units on the walls barring ranged units shooting down. There needs to be a bit of a halfway point here. The way I'd see it being fixed up is ladders being turned into a proper siege item, meaning that you'd have to build them up in the same way that you build up the battling ram and the siege towers. This would take significantly less time compared to a siege tower, but it would also mean that you have a certain amount of ladders. If the unit gets destroyed, you don't have those ladders. The thing here is, in a realistic world, we'd have everyone carrying ladders, but I imagine that Creative Assembly would not be able to do that. Yes, some modders have been able to do that with their own siege rework things, but I imagine that the work being done by CA would take a little bit longer because, one, it needs to get reviewed by brand, and two, it would need to get reviewed by GW. There's a much bigger process when it comes to adding stuff to the game officially than there is when it is a mod. We all know how protective Games Workshop is of their IP, and it even goes to these minute details too. So I guess they won't be carrying the ladders physically, but they'll have an icon over their head basically saying, hey, you know, this unit has ladders. I think it's also important to keep ladders because we don't want more stuff being removed from pretty much legacy equipment and technology that we've had in Total War games from a long time. Plus, I mean, can you imagine sieges without ladders? If they're just restricted in a certain way and done a little bit better, that would work a lot better for everyone involved. This means if you're the defender, you'll know that, hey, this enemy has 2 sets of ladders coming in. I can protect the areas where they're going to put them up. And the same thing for you. I've got 2 sets of ladders in. This is where I can concentrate these units going up and the other units going in for the gates or even the siege tower in a different area. In most cases, you can build a battering ram in 1 to 2 turns. Same thing with the siege towers, sometimes even 3. So I think that ladders should take 1 turn to be able to construct, and it should give you a full set. Maybe even 2 if just maybe it works out a little bit better. But the idea here is for you to be able to still siege very quickly without needing to wait too long and having the option. By that point, you can still ignore the ladders and go straight into the gates, but yeah, if you've got an army that doesn't have the siege attacker trait because it doesn't have any monsters or whatever, there you go. Alright, walls. There's really no reason to defend walls, and that can also be attributed to the ladder situation. But there's other things that need to be done here. The fact of the matter is, you've got 2 sets of archers, and one of them looks forward, one of them looks back. They should both be able to look forward. They're volley units. They should be able to fire. It's really strange how this hasn't been fixed up because I know a lot of people have been calling for this to be fixed up. It would make your missile infantry a lot more viable if you can have them all in one location. Some of the walls aren't that large and you'll want to have as many archers up there as possible, especially as a lot of people do recruit a lot of ranged infantry troopers. I just want to make a quick note here. I know some people are going to complain about the whole capture point system, but I do think that the changes that came in with everything in 2023 really did fix up the capture point system. I think it's much better now. It's definitely not perfect, but it feels a lot more playable. You don't have to sit and protect every single capture point. You can just go to the main one, and with the minor settlements, you just have to stand at one. I think that's really good. The sieges do feel better there. Settlement variety is a massive issue, and I don't think people realize how bad it exactly is, especially since people are just avoiding sieges. The problem with this is that every race, mostly the Warhammer 1 and 2 races, have like 1, 2, maybe even 3 settlements, and this is for major, and then maybe 1 or 2 for minor settlements. This means that you're seeing the same maps over and over again, and it gets boring to the eye, to the point that you just get disincentivized from fighting those maps. They've just done a massive, amazing thing when it comes to battles in the most recent DLC, where a lot of quest battle maps were introduced to be natural into the world map itself. But we are lacking settlement maps. The Lizard Men have like 1 or 2, the Tomb Kings have 1 or 2, and the problem is that those locations are so massive that you're seeing the same battle maps over and over from the same 4 or 5 major settlements that you're going to be fighting constantly. They tried to fix it off with the minor settlements by basically making them less seen, but even then, that doesn't fix the issue, that just removes the issue. And the problem is that that's something that's been happening with Total War for a fair amount of time now. It's getting better, thankfully, now with Warhammer 3, but we should not really lose out on settlement battles. They look amazing. They need to be fixed up, and there needs to be more variety. Let me use an example. I've recently started streaming over on twitch.tv/The Great Book of Grudges with the Vampire Coast. I'm fighting in Lustria. I'm playing Luther Harkin. The Lizardmen have the same maps. I am seeing the same maps constantly from settlement to settlement. And it's becoming boring. I can just flat out admit it. Now, I want to carry on with this campaign, 1, because I'm actually having fun playing as the Vampire Coast, and 2, I am trying to achievement hunt to get to 100% completion rate before the next DLC. Here's hoping. I've only got a few races left. Settlement variety is very important, and what they can do here is literally asset flip a bunch of maps. Sure, it doesn't solve the major issue, but keep in mind that a lot of these races actually share the same layout. It's just asset flipped to be their specific racial assets. Chaos Dwarfs use some of the Cathane ones, the Empire uses some of the Lizardmen ones. It's very much just repeated over and over. Get them all, asset flip them, have the variety coming in. Sure, it's not really going to solve the problem because, again, it's just the same maps over and over, but at least when you're playing through Lustria or playing through Nehekara, you're not seeing the same format over and over again when you're attacking those racial-specific settlements. I think the perfect example, and this is one campaign that made me just stop, I'm just going to leave it to last, Bretonnia. Bretonnia is fairly large for what it is, it's still a bit too small, but it's all the same settlement maps. There's like 2. And it becomes really frustrating, especially as other factions start invading you. If you're getting attacked by multiple settlements, you might end up getting a chain of 3 battles in one turn, and they're all literally the same defensive map. It becomes really, really frustrating. There are mods, and it does make it better, especially for variety's sake, but we shouldn't be relying on mods. Mods should always be complementary to the gameplay experience, rather than fixing up some core issues, which there are some ways to go about it. Again, Games Workshop could say no, and that's a big thing, but I don't imagine that they'd be against asset flipping for just the sake of making the play experience better. The last thing is something I can imagine would have to be a patch in its own right, because it wouldn't just affect sieges, it would affect the whole game. I'm talking about AI battle logic. There are loads of times where the AI just kind of craps out on itself and doesn't know how to react to any enemies, for example. The units just go in a conga line, the units just disappear, they stand perfectly still whilst the rest of their army is dying. It's less known nowadays, which is a good thing, but it's still very much happening. If everything has gone well with playing back a replay, because keep in mind, replays have been broken for a long time when it comes to Total War Warhammer 3, I think since the very launch. I should be showing some footage of a battle where the enemies just kind of stopped, and they were sending in units one at a time, which meant, in most cases, yeah, I was not struggling. It was a really weird battle, and I know that I could have sallied out, but I would have lost if I would have sallied out. I don't know why this is a thing. It's about time the battle logic was fixed up. There's loads of cases for sieges and loads of cases of normal battles. That's hopefully something that we'll see getting fixed sooner rather than later. It's the same way as how you can corner camp and the AI doesn't really know how to react. Instead, they'll still try to, for example, flank you, but they're just hitting the side, normally getting peppered by your range army if you're fighting with a range army. The logic needs to be fixed up a little bit there too. These are just some things I'd like to see fixed up. There's probably some others that I'm missing out, but I've been thinking about sieges since they mentioned that they want to fix up the sieges. And these are the ones that just kind of stand out to me the most. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I'm going to be live today if you want to pop by, talk about this video, talk about general Total War stuff, or even some Warhammer tabletop stuff. Should be live as this video releases, and I'll be on for a few hours because I generally do around 5 to 6 hour streams depending on how the day is going. So yeah, pop by, say hi, and if not, I'll see you all again very, very soon for another video.